All right, Brandon Marcello, 24/7 Sports, covers college football for them. At B Marcello on Twitter. Follow him on all social media. What is up, Brandon? How are you today?
Doing well. How are you guys?
Doing awesome, man. When you look at Alabama, Texas A&M, I was talking to Peter Burns yesterday on one of our podcasts on the Burnout, and he was just kind of going position group by position group. And when you do that, it does look like Texas A&M has an advantage in comparison. They've got an advantage of playing at home. When you look at this game, what do you see between Alabama and Texas A&M?
To me, it comes down to this. Texas A&M has the best pass rush rate in all of college football this year, right? They're getting pressure on nearly 15% of 15% of snaps. They're getting pressure on the quarterback, getting sacks. Alabama has the second worst protection rate in all of college football.
That's a bad combo right there for Alabama.
Yeah. I mean, and that's just the start of the matchups to me. That's the number one thing that would give me big concerns going into this game. With Jalen Milroe performing well the last two games, but now going into a big-time hostile environment against a defensive line that, as I wrote today, actually, is starting to live up to those high expectations. I mean, listen, guys, on that defensive line for Texas A&M, they've got three guys that at one point in their high school recruiting career, so to speak, they were number one in the nation, regardless of position, the number one player in the 24/7 Sports rankings at some point. They are starting to make that progress to live up to expectations. That 2022 class, of course, is the central piece, but they've had top four classes each of the last 5 years or whatever. And listen, level of competition's obviously going up playing Alabama this week. They just got done playing Auburn and Arkansas, but there is some things to pick up on there, and that is one, that pass rush. And what has really gone into that? One, of course, the talent, but also the scheme. They have changed things up a little bit. Just a couple of weeks ago, or a few weeks ago, against Miami, they only blitzed on 33% of their snaps, right? Well, the last 2 weeks, they have upped that. They've realized what their strengths are. And last week against Arkansas, they had 7 sacks. They blitzed on 66% of snaps. So they have doubled the amount of pressures that they're doing schematically. And that has really played into their hands because that's what their strength is.
So if Alabama doesn't pass at all, that throws all that out the window, right? if they go out there and throws 0 passes.
Service Academy, baby. Yeah. Run that triple option.
And then you got Texas A&M, who's got a nose tackle who I think this past game, he had a 16% pressure rate himself, a nose tackle.
Wow. So run outside is what you're saying. Got to run outside a little bit. I hear you.
Sure. Yeah. So do whatever you want.
So who's got the quarterback advantage here? I mean, both of these guys, Jalen played clean football last week. Max turned it over 3 times with 2 fumbles. Both at times look really good, and then both at times look like they get shaken up a little bit.
I think Max more than Jalen kind of telegraphs his throws easily. Just look at that one interception he had. I think it was the very first play of the second half against Arkansas this past week. Telegraphed all the way. It was easy to jump the route. But again, home field advantage here helps out Max. They're going to do things to protect him, and he's got enough playmakers around him to where they can do that. I think A&M's rushing offense, their running backs are severely underrated and overlooked right now. Their top guys averaging 6 yards per carry. They kind of do a good job of balancing everything out. This is a team that is so deep with talent that it's different guys stepping up. And to go back on the defense, I mean, they got 20 sacks this year. They had 19 all of last year, right? But those 20 sacks are split among 11 different players. So it's different guys stepping up, and it just speaks to their immense talent.
Now imagine Alabama not passing one time.
It's like they unveiled the triple option against USC that one time. They do that?
Yeah. Is it a built-in excuse for – I'm a worst-case scenario guy – for Jimbo Fisher that it is Max Johnson or not Connor Wegman, that it's not his number one quarterback, that if they do lose this game – that all of a sudden Jimbo can say, what if we'd had Connor, it'd have been a different game. Does he get a pass? I guess I'm asking.
Oh, hell no. he's done gone past the pass phase. I mean, he needs to get some things done this year. He's got to challenge and win like 10 games. We've talked about that all off season. It's an inflection point for the program at Texas A&M because Big Brother's joining the conference next year, and they spent the last decade running away from the shadow of Big Brother and done so mostly successfully. But things are going to get so much more difficult to be able to win, number one, but also garner a lot of the attention from the state of Texas when it comes to the SEC program, because that's all about to go away, and A&M better show some progress that they're going to be able to contend with Texas when they join the conference next year.
Did we learn more about Georgia or Auburn this past weekend?
Georgia, listen, any team that turns the ball over the way that Georgia did is going to allow someone to hang around, even an Auburn team that can't throw for 100 yards against anyone, it seems like. But Georgia has shown to me in several games this year that they can lose multiple ways, whether it's a turnover battle or their defense just unable to really adjust and being out-schemed. And being out-schemed, I mean that South Carolina game in the first half. They were just getting out-schemed there. There wasn't a talent advantage, and that worries me a little bit. And then against Auburn, you go on the road somewhere in the SEC, you turn the ball over 2 to 3 times, and you're unable to overcome that. You know, that's a big time issue. And, you know, we talk about Texas A&M. Texas A&M was turning the ball over a lot against Arkansas, but yet that was a runaway victory for them. Georgia, they turn over the ball a couple times. They're in trouble. Not accustomed to seeing that from them.
Brandon Marcello is with us 24/7 Sports at B Marcello on Twitter. Follow him on all social media. Support his work the way you do ours. Brandon does a great job with that. He's on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. I don't feel as though Oklahoma is anywhere close to as tested as Texas. Like, I feel like I know what Texas is, Brandon. In fact, it's maybe one of the few teams in the nation I feel like I've actually got a pretty good grasp on who they are. I do not feel anywhere close to that with Oklahoma.
Yeah, I would like to have seen OU play a tougher Big 12 opponent so far. They went to Cincinnati, and Cincinnati is what it is. And, you know, the new Big 12 members, the 4 new Big 12 members, are combined 1-7 in the Big 12 so far. And that one win was BYU Cincinnati, the 2 members facing each other. So, yeah, we're still waiting to see about OU. But I will say this, at least defensively, the consistency week to week has shown up. And you cannot downplay the confidence that builds in them and one into the scheme, but also their playmaking ability. I get the feeling that this could very well be one of those games that finishes in the 20s. That's relatively low scoring, even though OU's offense is explosive and Texas can be explosive. But I think that they're a team that can win on defense, obviously. But this game could be very close. I know Texas is favored and all that, but it's very intriguing to me because I think we're going to find out a lot about OU in this game, maybe more so than Texas. And boy, I can't imagine what the conversations would be like in Austin, you know, Sunday morning if Texas loses to OU. And then all of a sudden it's, what that conversation.
Oh, like if Texas loses to OU and A&M beats Bama. I mean, it kind of flips back around what you were talking about earlier, you know?
Yeah. You know,
yeah.
We shared a bottle of bourbon in Nashville at SEC Media Days. I feel like I know this. You seem like a big romantic guy. I mean, you got to love the fact that this last dance for the Pac-12 and this last dance of Texas, Oklahoma in the Big 12 is such a perfect ending. It's almost a Taylor Swift song. The way these two are having such great endings here together.
Yeah, you know, listen, I think a lot of us saw that the Pac-12 was going to be good this year just because of the returning talent at quarterback. And it's living up to the expectations. But starting this past week, you know, I mentioned on the show here before that there's like a 5-week stretch here in the season where all these top teams, like top 6 teams in the Pac-12, are facing off against each other week after week after week. And so they're going to start eating each other a little bit. And we got to see our first one with Utah going down against Oregon State. And Utah, that one was coming because they have dealt with so many freaking injuries, not to mention, of course, the quarterback situation where they've been without Cam Rising, but they've been getting debilitated everywhere, and yet they kept winning, and they finally lost. So watch out this week, guys. There's some big games out there this week. I think UCLA is still hanging around out there that could potentially upset a team or two. But really great football out there. And the 2 teams I've been most impressed with now, and one of them to me is a little bit of a surprise, is Oregon. I'm actually quite surprised by how well they are playing defensively. I knew offensively they'd probably be putting up points, but I thought the offense would take like a half step back. I've said that, and you guys know that because of Kenny Dillingham leaving and the comfort level with Bo Nix there. But Bo Nix has picked that thing up and it's just grown even from last season. Very impressive there. And then, listen, I've been a big Washington guy for the last 2 years. Michael Penix is the Heisman leader right now, in my opinion. And that defense is playing so much better. Arizona was only like a 1 touchdown game or whatever, but Arizona could keep up with you, score points. I really love this Washington team. The 2 best Pac-12 teams to me right now are Washington and Oregon. I got Washington right now in my top 3 nationally.
Yeah, I mean, that USC defense, when they got up 34-7, I was like, okay, here we go again. This is Oregon, Colorado all over. And then they just started chipping away, and we can't put a finger on it. And the narrative now is Lincoln Riley's going to have great offenses, and the defense is going to get him beat a couple of games this year. I don't know if this defense can get right.
I don't either. And the thing is that they've got the type of talent and depth to perform well for all 4 quarters. And this has been a recurring thing under Lincoln Riley, and for that matter, really Alex Grinch. So you just got to look at the common denominator. If things don't really make sense to you, like what's going on? The players are there. They're playing well in the first 3 quarters. The common denominator is the coaches. So until something changes there, that's going to remain to be the case. And, Lincoln Riley isn't going anywhere, but you do wonder about Alex Grinch. And I do wonder about the relationship there with Lincoln Riley and Alex Grinch, just, as professionals, and whether, Alex Grinch is just, listen, the way they play defense, the way they play in space, it's conducive to, make turnovers, then also maybe give up big plays. But when you are shutting someone down for 3 quarters or 2.5 quarters, and then all of a sudden it just starts breaking away from you, and effort and missed tackling and all that, that's a coaching thing.
Missouri has Brady Cook, hasn't thrown an interception in 325 passes, their highest ranking since week 1 of 2015. And here comes hobbling LSU. Can Missouri get a big win and it's still a ranked top 25 matchup this weekend? Do you like Missouri at home?
This is a coin flip to me, but I'll say this. LSU is just terrible defensively, and they've been showing it throughout the season. It's a bit shocking to see their secondary be as bad as it is on 3rd downs this year, especially 3rd and longs. It's mind-boggling to me. You guys saw the game Saturday, but it's been going on all season. Florida State, of course, that second half. 2nd and longs, 3rd and longs just not coming up. And boy, Jaden Daniels looks like an inflatable waving balloon man when he gets on the run, doesn't he? He gets smacked by someone. I just keep waiting for him to snap in half. The guy is so small. But, Mizzou, I've struggled with Mizzou because I've got them in my top 25 because they've got that win against Kansas State. And I do think Kansas State's pretty good, but are they top 25 good? I think LSU's got, top 15, top 20 type talent. Mizzou doesn't. So this one's a big coin flip for me. But I'll say this. If Eli Drinkwitz could get this win, it'd be the biggest win so far in his career there at Mizzou.
Oh. I mean, he just got a contract extension, but boy, if you win this one and go to 6-0, I mean,
listen, contract extensions don't mean crap anymore. I mean, listen, I was talking to him back in July at media days outside, and it's just like, yeah, we got a contract extension on this, and I'm like, boy, but it's still a year-to-year thing, and he agrees.
Right. Yeah.
You'll get fired right away. That's why this whole idea that A&M's not going to fire Jimbo Fisher if they had a bad season because BS. They'll fire his ass, and they'll fire Eli if they have a losing season this year at Mizzou.
He is Brandon Marcello at B Marcello on Twitter. Go support all of his work there with 24/7 Sports. It is always a pleasure, Brandon. Thank you very much for the time today.
All right, see you guys.